Well, it's neither good morning nor good afternoon. It's 12 noon here on the East Coast. I'm Ted Rall. John Kiriakou is here. You're watching the DeProgram show on YouTube and Rumble. Please like, follow, and share the show. Today, we're talking about the big, beautiful bill and its aftermath, the Medicaid cuts. James Carville is calling it a possible mass extinction event for Republicans. That's our main topic. We're going to be talking about Elon Musk. He seems to be following through on his threat to create a third party, partly in revenge against Donald Trump. Alligator Alcatraz is open for business. The human rights advocates are pissed off. Israel has rejected yet another ceasefire proposal, including one that they kind of agreed to the terms to before. And of course, there's massive, terrible flash floods in Texas Hill Country that have killed over 50 people.
It's 70 now.
Okay.
And there are still 11 children missing.
Terrible.
Unbelievable.
And so now already there's the question of blame. Some people are saying that cuts at the National Weather Service under Doge may have left the agency short-staffed, not of the people who made the predictions, but of the people who coordinate those predictions with first responders and emergency agencies. So, John, let's get into the Big Beautiful Bill Act. It's actually technically the One Big Beautiful Bill Act of 2025. It might be the most inelegantly named piece of legislation ever to pass the United States Congress. So it's going to add $3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years.
Yeah.
It's going to cut taxes mainly for the super rich and for corporations, but no one's taxes are meant to go up. There's some gimmicks like no taxes on tips or overtime,
which nobody's going to qualify for.
Right. And but it looks like the big political blowback is going to be from Medicaid. It doesn't go into effect until 2027. Mm-hmm. So the Republicans are hoping to coast through the midterms without a bunch of angry, sick, poor people in flyover country throwing rocks at them. But it looks like anywhere from 10 to 17 million Americans, mostly Republican voters, are going to lose their access to health care because of this. Donald Trump had specifically promised that he would never touch entitlement programs like Medicare or Medicaid. And so, look, James Carville's words always have to be taken with a grain of salt, considering that he's been spectacularly mistaken.
Crazy wrong.
In recent years. And even though I don't share my politics with his centrism, but I do find him smart and appealing, even though he's wrong and centrist.
Yes.
I think he might be right this time.
I think he might. And the Washington Post even alludes to that today. There's a piece on the front page of the Washington Post, Ted, saying a couple of different and mutually exclusively interesting things about this stupid bill, this law. One is that 67% of Americans are against it. The other is 67% of Americans don't really know what's in it. And so now the race is on to define what this thing means. You mentioned just a second ago, for example, no taxes on tips, right? The Republicans brought that up repeatedly at the Republican National Convention in the summer of 24. And so, by God, Congress charged forward, no taxes on tips. If you make less than $25,000 a year and you itemize, which means nobody is going to qualify for it.
Nobody who makes that little money itemizes.
Nobody. I don't even itemize. I mean, I would love to, but I don't own my home. I rent. And so the standard deduction is by far the way to go. Well, that's how it's going to be for all these poor people making servers' wages and living on tips. They're not going to come anywhere near itemization.
Well, so that's a joke.
It is. It's a stop.
I mean, obviously. So I guess the question now is, obviously, to take advantage of a screw up like this, you need an opposition party that's competent and knows how to message clearly. Unfortunately, the United States doesn't have such an opposition party. But let's just say the Democrats were going to do this, and they had some messaging discipline. Carville's saying that Republicans could lose 40 seats next year. I call bullshit on that.
I do too.
But Maybe 5 or 10, and then that would be enough to tip control.
That would tip control. I'm with you 100% on that, and I'll tell you why. In 2010, in the aftermath of the Obamacare vote, Republicans were ascendant, Democrats were in chaos, and in the 2010 midterm elections, the Democrats lost 62 House seats. They would have lost the Senate had the Republicans not nominated crazy people in places like Missouri and Indiana and Delaware. But since that election, we've had 2 rounds of redistricting. And so now the district lines, the district borders have been redrawn almost exclusively by Republicans to protect Republican districts. So even if people remain this angry over this bill and they run to the polls in 2026, the Republicans are not going to lose 62 House seats. I think you're exactly right. They're going to lose 5 to 10. That's enough to tip the balance, but it's not going to be enough to really force through an agenda.
But it does create, we go into traditional gridlock mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
No more major legislative achievements for this administration.
No, that'll be it, because the Republicans, I'm gonna go out on a limb and make a prediction here. There's no possible way the Republicans lose the Senate in 2026.
Agreed with that.
Not possible.
I don't see how. And then the House is, of course, where investigations start. So it's where impeachment proceedings begin. So I would be surprised if the Democrats didn't try to gin up another impeachment, because, good things come in threes. Why not? And wouldn't go anywhere in the Senate, as you point out. But I think that, you'd be looking at some investigations, right? I mean, I don't know of what. It would nice. The one thing that Democrats never go after, and I think I know why now, is emoluments. It's the one thing they would have Trump dead to rights on.
Yes, but they don't dare.
Because they do it too.
That's right. That's exactly right. Listen, every politician knows that in the end he's going to get rich. Everybody. And that is despite the fact that 30 years ago, 35 years ago, they finally changed the law, which had said previously, any campaign funds that they don't spend, they can keep. And so there were members of Congress raising millions, tens of millions of dollars, and then saying, oh, I retire. And then all that money would just go in their pockets. Now they have to give it to the DNC or to one of the campaign committees in the House or the Senate. But they know that they're going to go on to lucrative lobbying contracts or boards of companies that they had overseen when they were in Congress. Everybody gets rich.
It's the revolving door. I mean, you're my colleague, fellow political cartoonist Gary Trudeau of Doonesbury.
Yeah. He
created a TV show that was based on a true story about how some members of the House, freshman members, they weren't called first years, they had to share apartments or live in their offices together because they couldn't afford having a house in their home districts as well as an expensive apartment or house in DC. Things have changed, right? Now we have the Nancy Pelosi feed. Like, if you just follow all of her investments, you make bank.
People actually are able to do that now. There's one closed-end mutual fund that allows you to track Nancy Pelosi's investments.
Yeah.
As nuts as that is.
And apparently the returns are kick-ass.
Yeah, they're astronomical.
Because they're all based on insider trading.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, I used to work at Bear Stearns in the mid-'80s and on the trading desk. And I remember just thinking at the time that the whole idea that insider trading was illegal was silly. Because I was the lowest of the low, right? I made $10,000 a year. I was a trader trainee. I had no no family contacts I could sell securities to. Lowest of the low. And I would sit there and listen to a little squawk box that said, like, at 11:30 in 3 hours, there's going to be a block trade of 300,000 shares of IBM, $3 below the market. And all you have to do to make money is short sell as much IBM as you could put on margin and dump it an hour later, right?
Oh, my God.
And it's all you have to do. And it takes an incredible amount of discipline not to do that. And every now and then
Yeah.
the SEC busts someone for doing that. But I'm like, insider trading is normal. And so, like, but, you know, it does seem to me like it should be illegal among the, the political class. I mean, it is illegal. It's just
when I was at the CIA, we were warned, like the week that we were brought on board, right? We were warned not to trade. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we predicted that Saddam Hussein would invade Kuwait. Okay, nobody dared short Exxon.
Right.
Nobody dared. The instructions
or buy oil futures.
Or buy oil futures because you would be prosecuted. They meant it too.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But on Capitol Hill, oh my God, you're free to do whatever you want. Anything you want.
I honestly don't think they should be able to buy securities.
I agree with you. I think absolutely everything should go into a blind trust, just the way it is with the president.
I mean, I think it's Marjorie Taylor Greene who lately has been on a wild bender of sanity.
Yeah.
And I mean, just today, we're not talking about it today. Just today, I sent it to you. She's comes out. She's proposing a bill to ban geoengineering.
Yeah.
Shooting schmutz up into the atmosphere.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm on Team MTG.
Sounds good.
She also wanted to ban the purchasing of securities by members of Congress. Go MTG. I'm with you.
It's crazy, man. But I find myself in complete agreement with her over the last 3 weeks or so. I'm almost embarrassed to say the words out loud.
I know.
But
I feel like it's important to give credit where credit's due. And, it's kind of like if someone was wrong before and they're right now, I mean, that's what you wanted, right?
Exactly.
So you've got to reward it. It's
right.
It's human nature to be like, but you were wrong before, so we don't give you credit now, which is totally like, that's where I go first.
That's nuts.
Definitely a mistake. All right, so I guess we're just going to see where that goes. But I think
the fight is on
next year. The big bet. I think certainly red state Democrats are going to be campaigning on the big beautiful bill. This bill reminds me of nothing else more than the 1981 Reagan budget. I mean, it's
oh my God, this is exactly the same as the 1981 Reagan budget. I was thinking about that the other day. And the thing is we've had all these years since the 1981 Reagan budget to prove that trickle-down economics, supply-side economics, does not work. You can't keep cutting taxes on the rich and on corporations and expect pennies to trickle down to the people who actually need it to live. It doesn't work. Yet here we are, 44 years later, and we're doing exactly the same thing. I just don't get it.
No, I mean, it did not work. Absolutely. Now, the other thing is, right, like, correct me if I'm wrong, John. I don't think I am. Wasn't this president elected to get us out of wars and do something about the price of eggs?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Instead, you're just going to die of cancer untreated. I guess you don't care about war once that happens.
I got to give Trump credit for one thing. There is a rule in the Senate that you are not permitted to filibuster a budget bill. And so one of the reasons, or the primary reason, that this is the big, beautiful bill and it covers everything, was that he packed everything he wanted that had nothing to do with the budget into the budget bill so that it couldn't be filibustered. Very smart.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm surprised it passed muster with the parliamentarian, actually.
Well, that was a fight. The parliamentarian took several days to rule on it and then admitted that, everything's packed in here and it's still a budget bill.
Technically, they have every right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's when everybody kind of came to the realization this was going to become law.
There's just
when
some
the parliamentarian backed off.
I mean, we're propagandized as children to be taught that like the American system is really perfect when everyone follows the rules, but sometimes the rules don't work. I mean, I was thinking about the Texas, the ruling in the Texas porn law, 9-0 unanimously. The Supreme Court ruled that Texas has the right to ban anyone. Not ban, but basically there is a ban against anyone consuming porn in all 50 states under the age of 18, and rightly so. And Texas passed a law that basically says you have to upload your driver's license or passport or other kind of official government ID in order to prove that you're over 18. And, it makes sense, really. Sure. It makes sense. But you know what they're after here, right? What this does is it bans pornography in the state of Texas because no one's going to do that.
Right. And they're massive consumers of pornography. Every year Pornhub releases a list of the 50 states and it's ranked in terms of who consumes the most porn. And the number, like the top 5 states are always, Texas, Utah, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. It's always the red states because they're all repressed down there.
That's exactly right. It's like when you discover a senator like hitting on another dude in the airport bathroom, it's not going to be like Bernie Sanders.
No, I was just talking about that yesterday.
It's like, or in the UK, if you find like an MP hanging from the ceiling with a red ball gag in his mouth, it's a Tory, guaranteed.
Always. It's like the unwritten rule.
Yeah, it's like you can count on it. Take it to the bank. All right. Yeah, that guy's name was Larry Craig.
That's right.
All right, let's talk a little bit about an aftermath of the Big Beautiful Bill. Elon Musk had threatened to start a third party called the America Party in the event that the Big Beautiful Bill passed, that he was Musk was unhappy about. Trump accuses him of saying that's because the EV subsidies were gone. Musk said it has nothing to do with that he's pissed off about the deficits. No, I honestly don't know who's telling the truth. Maybe both, maybe neither. But he then, true to his word, Musk went online and did one of his online polls to his ex-followers and said, do you want it? 2 out of 3 respondents said yes. He said, done, I'll do it. And so
what a dope.
He has more money than God.
Yeah.
He can certainly, $1 billion or 2 could definitely launch a third party. I don't know if he would have like all billionaires and their toys, whether he'd be interested in keep playing with it for a while. But, we talked last time about how this would be a centrist party, and maybe that's not what the world needs, right?
Yet another centrist party.
I can't argue that we don't need another party. That I can't argue.
Well, like you and I were saying the other day, Ted, we actually need several new parties.
Right.
We talked about this on the last installment of the show. We need a progressive party. We need a populist party. We need there's got to be some place for centrist Democrats to go, which is the Democratic Party, and centrist Republicans. We need a whole bunch of parties. But the country is set up in such a way, for the last 90 years that it's just not going to happen. And that's what's Elon Musk's party might sort of bubble up a little bit. It'll get 3, 4, 5%, and then it's going to go away. I think it's probably high time that Elon Musk licks his wounds and goes home.
Yeah, he's not doing well in the world of politics. Mm-hmm. It's killing his bottom line. It's really hurting the stocks. And frankly, honestly, Elon Musk has contributed some really important things to our country, particularly by creating a network of charging stations across the country for electric vehicles. No one else was going to do that. And he did.
That's right.
And so I'm like, good, seriously, thanks, Elon, for that. I think the space stuff, less interesting, but still worth doing, since obviously we can't.
NASA's not doing it.
No, we haven't been back to the moon since the early 70s, since the Nixon administration.
That's right.
I mean, we used to go up there with like magnetic tape on storage. I don't understand why we can't go back there now all the time.
There was more memory in an Atari game system than what we used to go to the moon.
It's really. I mean, we can't do things anymore.
No.
So. But the thing is, what he's going to discover, I don't think he realizes the institutional, blocks on a third party. Like, for example, here in New York, the Green Party need to get at least 5% of the vote in order to be back on the ballot in the most recent presidential election. And it wasn't. It didn't get 5% of the vote in 2020 because so many Democrats were afraid of the big bad Donald Trump that even though New York was obviously going to go for, was going to go for Biden, it didn't matter.
Right.
And so the thing is, so there's so many like rules like that. You have to get up to a certain level. You have to maintain that certain level. They challenge all of your ballot petitions in every election.
Every time.
I've collected signatures, and it's kind of quite the rule, right? Like, so like if I signed Ted Rall, oh, that's an invalid signature because I'm Frederick Theodore Rall III. I've got to write the comma between Rall and the third.
Right.
Spell out if I say like I live at 222 East 92nd Street, I don't live there. But I can't say 92 ND because that's not actually the name. It's a 92. I can't say ST period. That signature is gone. It's got to be street spelled out. I can't say NYC 10021. I've got to say New York, comma, NY 10021. I mean, so it's really a process. You need to collect at least twice as many signatures as you really need.
And most people can collect 4 or 5 times the signatures that they really need.
There are companies that do this.
Yeah, there are companies. That's right. You have to hire these companies with campaign funds to go out there and do it for you.
Yeah. So, I mean,
ridiculous. Hey, Ted, I got to ask you a quick question too.
Yeah.
I got an automated email yesterday. I got actually 5 automated emails yesterday from the Congressional Black Caucus.
Oh, wow.
Fundraising arm, despite the fact that I've repeatedly unsubscribed. So all 5 of these were a version of vote blue no matter who.
Of course.
Right? So there, on the 5th one, I was so tired of seeing these. There was a comment button. So I commented, what about Mandani? Are you voting for him? If it's vote blue no matter who? Because if I were in New York, I would vote for Mandani. Right? You keep telling us, give money and vote blue no matter who. We have to stop Trump. Okay. How come nobody has endorsed this guy, including Governor Hochul?
Hakeem Jeffries, no Chuck Schumer,
not a one.
No Nancy Pelosi, no Hillary or Bill Clinton.
Nope.
No. All of the top Democrats. The only one is my congressman, Gerald Nadler.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, to his great credit. To his great credit. Yeah.
I mean, by the way, when only in this world is it considered courageous for Democrats to endorse their own party's nominee, who won, by the way, by a landslide.
Landslide.
Right? So it's like, oh, God. I mean, I thought you were going to say, so that's really funny. I assume you didn't get a reply.
No, I didn't get a reply. And this brings me to Cuomo. Same thing. So Cuomo won the nomination of this obscure party that I never heard of until last week. But he's not the Democratic nominee. So why didn't he immediately endorse Mandani? Mandani beat him fair and square.
He should have.
Yeah, he should have.
Absolutely.
And didn't.
And right now you see like the right-wing apparatus, which is sort of this bizarre coalition of convenience between right-wing real estate interests, pro-Israel Zionists, the Democratic corporatists, Clintonites, and the Murdoch empire, the New York Post and Fox News.
Yep.
And they're all getting together and they're trying to figure out how they can get they can unify anti-Mamdani votes around who? Sliwa?
Right. Yeah, right. Curtis Sliwa. Yeah.
Maybe Sliwa, maybe Cuomo, but I think most of them they've kind of like settled on Adams. Who's, by the way, would currently be on trial for corruption if he hadn't thrown the city open to ICE. That's
right. He should be on trial for corruption. And I have to ask you, because you're a New York voter, I saw, excuse me, I saw Mayor Adams on Jake Tapper a couple of days ago state as fact that Mamdani has been very public, his words, very public and very vocal in his support for Hamas and other terrorist groups. And Jake Tapper's like, whoa, wait a minute. When has he been public in his support for Hamas and other terrorist groups? That would have been big news. Oh, he says it all the time. He loves Hamas. It was even in his raps when he was a rapper. It's like, what are you talking about? Does any of this sound right to you?
No, it's just they're making shit up. I mean, like one of the things they've been doing is Like, why won't you, Mamdani, Zoran, why will you not say that you're against the phrase to globalize the Intifada? And he's like, I never said globalize the Intifada. Yeah, but you should condemn that. You should apologize for that. It's like, why would I apologize for something I've never said? Well, what do people mean by that? Well, they favor the liberation of the Palestinian people. Condemn. It's like, and I will give it to him. He's kind of like, yeah, no. And he's right. That's the right way to play that. I mean, even if he personally thought, which I doubt,
yeah,
he does, but even if he thought that's a terrible phrase, you can't admit that. You can't say that. This is just, it's a game. It's a sick game. It used to work great. It doesn't work anymore.
No. And Houdini's got a great comment here. Why is he labeled a Muslim socialist? What does his religion have to do with his politics? Oh my God, I've been saying that from the very beginning. Why in the world is he always described as a Muslim socialist? It's fear-mongering.
It's dog whistling. I mean, and it's like, and besides which, what religion is more anti-socialist than Islam? I mean, Christianity, now that's a socialist religion. It really is. I mean,
it is. That's right.
Jesus did not like rich people.
May I answer Lulu 3 real quickly? Did I click the African American box like Mamdani did? That's why I keep getting. You know what? I can tell you exactly what I did, and I kick myself. My voting precinct is directly across the street from me, and so I went over there to vote one day, and there are always people there with the sample Democratic ballots and the sample Republican ballots. So I took a sample Democratic ballot just to look at like the school board races, because I don't follow it closely enough, and none of my kids are in Arlington County schools. So the guy said, would you like to sign up for our mailing list? And I said, yeah, okay. So I give him my spam email,
mm-hmm.
and I stupidly gave him my phone number.
Oh no.
And so they text the shit out of me constantly. And then how they got my good email, my real email, I have no idea. But I'm going to say 10 of these a day from groups I never even heard of. Same thing when I put my kid in Little League. Ted, I get 50 emails a year from baseball bat manufacturers. I didn't know there were so many. So I have to.
No, I just know Louisville Slugger. That's all I know.
That's the only one I knew.
Wow.
So they bombard me. Right now, and I hate having stuff in my inbox. I have 16 unread emails in my inbox.
Yeah, you can keep blocking, but they keep sending it from new numbers.
Yeah, it just proliferates. Thank you, Marble.
On Telegram, and we talked a little about this, every single day I'm getting these stupid bot things. And like you, every now and then I get bored and I reply. So I thought you'd be amused by this. I got one from a AI girl named Isabella. This was the opening. What are your activities today? I said,
oh, geez.
I'm eating cheese. She goes, that's good, yummy. Do you want to come over BBQ party this weekend? I was like, yes, that sounds great. Can I bring cheese? She's sorry. Is this Narissa? I'm Isabella. I said, hi, Isabella. Narissa sent me out to pick up some cheese. I can't decide. Camembert or Roquefort, LOL. I better get both. She goes, are you Narissa? I said, this is her friend Musa. Musa is Latin for mouse. I'm so embarrassed. Oh, I saved the wrong number because I was driving the car earlier, and I hope I didn't disturb you. Nice to meet you, Musa. I'm Isabella, 36 years old. And then she said, thank you for your kindness. I wonder if I could make friends with this friendly gentleman. I said, why not?
Oh, my God.
And so it goes on like this. Anyway, she goes, can I send your picture? See your picture. So I sent her a picture of a guy eating a giant block of cheese. And that was the end. I never heard from her.
As soon as I get those, I love responding to those. They'll say, like, hello, Mary. Are we still riding horses together tomorrow? And I write back, send nudes.
Oh,
Then they
what?
just stop.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's like look, providing some entertainment to a guy in Nairobi sleeping on a bed bug infested mattress.
One guy I made so mad, I was insulting him. Like every time he would text, I'd insult him, and he was supposed to be. They always send you a variation on that very heavily edited, beautiful young Asian woman.
Always.
And so I'm hitting him, and I'm saying like horrible stuff that I can't even repeat on the air, just to see what the reaction's going to be. And I made him so mad that he texted me without first putting it into Google Translate.
Oh shit!
And when I saw it, I was like, "What the heck language is that?"
Oh,
so it was Indonesian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I say like, yeah, that's what your mom said when I was leaving her house last night after I got done shaving her back. Send nudes.
That'll be my reply from now on. It's much, much faster. All right, so America Party, never mind America Party. All right, so let's talk about alligator Alcatraz. I don't know if you saw this in the news today. There was a picture of workmen.
Yes.
Putting up a giant highway reflector sign that officially designated as alligator
Alcatraz. I was sickened when I saw that. It's actually called alligator Alcatraz.
Right.
It's on the road signs.
Yeah, it's not like the Central Florida migration detention facility or something bureaucratic sounding. I mean, this is what happens when children run the government, basically. Yeah. It's like a bunch of little, over-caffeinated little boys who are having a great time.
And they're loving it. They're having such a good time. Hey, let me add something, too. My best friend from high school called me the other day. And he called several times, which is unusual. When he called the first couple times, I was just so busy I couldn't pick up. So he called me several times. And he lives in very, very rural northern Pennsylvania, right near the New York border. There's nothing up there. The last time I went to see him, I saw a bear. And I saw a family of porcupines. I've never seen a porcupine before.
Oh, porcupines are cool.
Yeah. And they're big.
Yeah.
They're friggin' big. They're like bigger than dogs.
Oh, yeah. They can be big.
So he called me to say that his wife has been unemployed for 16 months. The company where she worked for years and years went out of business. So she's unemployed for 16 months. And he wanted to tell me that she had accepted a job and that he hoped I wasn't offended by it. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, she took a job with the Geo Corporation. And I said, oh, Gary, it's the world's largest private prison company. I said, oh, Gary. And he's like, I know, but she hasn't worked in 16 months. And I said, no. I've been there. I've been unemployed. God bless.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys need to do to make a living. Don't worry about John's position on the Geo Corporation. But importantly, he went on to say they hired her to be a senior HR person. She's done HR for 40-something years. And the reason that they're expanding in far northernmost Pennsylvania is because they are opening migrant detention facilities all over America. It's not just in Texas and Arizona and the California desert and alligator Alcatraz. It's 3 new prison facilities in Pennsylvania. So this is not just an election ploy, No,
this is the prison industrial complex.
That's exactly what it is. They are deadly serious about scooping up as many people as they possibly can, incarcerating them, and then throwing them out. And we should probably also mention this situation with South Sudan.
Right. Oh, we absolutely do. And before we do, just I want to parenthetically mention Pennsylvania ought to know better, considering they had that massive scandal where the judge was a juvenile justice judge.
That's right.
Was funneling kids into a for-profit prison just to make money
kickbacks.
And for kickbacks. Yeah.
He sold children into bondage.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden
is innocent of not having committed the crime at all.
That's right. And Joe Biden pardoned him.
Yeah, disgusting. All right, so let's talk about it. I believe it was 8 citizens of other country. Well, 7 citizens of countries other than South Sudan,
Yes.
and one who is a South Sudanese, 8 total. The courts have signed off on this, and they told the Trump administration it's okay, at least for now, to deport undocumented workers, people without legal residency status in the United States, to any country in the world that you want.
Yeah.
That can't be right.
I thought when I first saw it that I just had misread it. And so I started following this issue closely. And no, that's what the Supreme Court said. We can send people to any country we want. And so these 8 guys are being held at the American drone base. It's called an Air Force base in Djibouti. They're all locked up there pending expulsion to other countries. Only one South Sudanese. All of them have been convicted of murder, attempted murder, or armed robbery. So these are bad guys.
Sure.
But they're being expelled to South Sudan, which the United Nations calls the poorest country on earth. People leave South Sudan to go to Somalia for opportunity.
It's an active war zone.
An active war zone. Yes. Yeah. And this is what we're doing now. We're not sending them back to their own countries. We're just putting them on a one-way flight to South Sudan, kick them off the plane and say, good luck. We probably don't even say that.
Even in a country that's 249 years, there's shit that's so evil that no legislator ever thought that they needed to make a law against it. And this is one of them. It reminds me of maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago, there was that guy in Germany who put an ad on the internet saying hey, come to my house and I'll kill you and eat you.
Yes. And somebody did.
Yeah.
And he ate him.
And he was happy about being eaten. There was a video. But the point is, even in Germany, it had never occurred to any member of the Bundestag that they needed a law against this because no one had ever done it. We're at that state now here with what the government is doing to these people. It's one of those things it's indecent. It's obviously indecent, and it shouldn't be permitted. I mean, it wouldn't be okay, as far as I'm concerned, to send these people to France.
Yeah.
They don't have any affiliation. But this is meant to terrorize. It's sadistic. It reminds me of everything I've read and heard from my mother, who grew up in the Nazi occupation, where it was the word deportation in Nazi-occupied Europe. What happened to Rachel? She's been deported. Now that meant probably killed, right? Sent off into the ether, never to be heard from again.
That's right.
That's what it means. That's what it means now.
That is exactly right. That's exactly right. I think I've told you this story before, but I went to Somalia once with, I was in Djibouti. And I should add too, Tom makes a very good comment here. Does it make sense from a security standpoint to be sending these expelled people to relatively secretive military bases in the case of Djibouti? That's a very good point. Our base in Djibouti, which, crazy as it sounds, we share right down the middle with China. Crazy. This used to be a French base.
Well, why not? We had Chinese intelligence operatives assisting with torture of Uyghur detainees at Guantanamo.
That's right. The base is cut right down the middle. There's just a chain link fence down the middle, and half of it is Chinese and half of it is American. It used to be a French base called Camp Lemonnier, and the French were like, we don't have any national interests here anymore. We're going home. And they just packed up and went home, gave the base half to us and half to the Chinese. So the Chinese, all their hangars are sitting open, and our hangars are all closed because that's where we keep our drones that we use to bomb Yemen. So anyway, I was in Djibouti, and the ambassador asked me if I wanted to go to Somalia with him the next day. I said yes. So the ambassador, the defense attaché, the chief of security, and I got in a car, and we drove from Djibouti city past the national garbage dump, which I'll get to in a second, around the bay, and then south to Sudan. South to Somalia. And so we went to Somaliland, which is northernmost Somalia, and we're talking to Somaliland officials there. And as we're standing out talking, I'm looking at the beach, and there's a line that looks like it never ends. It was thousands of people, and they're just walking up the beach. So I said to the Somali guy, I said, who are all these people? And he said, oh, they're refugees. And I said, where are they going? And he said, to Yemen. And I said, they're going to Yemen for a better life. And he said, yes. And I was like, oh my God, how bad must things be here for them to go to Yemen? But anyway, my initial point, you have to drive past the municipal garbage dump to get to Somalia. And so as we were driving by, there was a family standing in the garbage dump, and there's a shrouded body laying on the ground. It's all wrapped up in linen. And they're digging a hole, and they're going to bury grandpa, in the hole. And I said to the ambassador, look at that. I said, there, but for the grace of God go I. I'm so lucky to be born where I was born, and my grandparents, came to the United States, etc. We drive back from Somalia that night, and as we're passing the garbage dump, there's a pack of wild dogs digging up the body.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll never forget it as long as I live. But this is where we're sending these guys. That's the environment that we're sending these people to. Now, if they're guilty of murder and attempted murder and armed robbery, incarcerate them.
Yes. We have,
right?
Lord knows we have the facilities.
That's right.
Michael brings up an important question. What happens
Yes.
when they arrive at this unfamiliar country? They just get dropped off with their stuff and a pat on the back. I mean, my impression is that it depends on the country, right? I think in some cases, they're going to take them into custody for whatever trumped up reason. In other cases, it's going to be just like, sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
that happened. I read a really bizarre article about during the Obama years, some like young Cambodians had been brought with their parents to the United States, and Obama deported them back to Cambodia. They hadn't been, in many cases, to Cambodia since they were babies. So they didn't speak Khmer. They'd never been to Cambodia within their memories. And so they basically, the Cambodian government didn't know what to do with them. They were homeless. They're living outside. It's a poor country. The government doesn't have a lot of resources. They were basically loitering. And then some people kind of cobbled together sort of a little bit of a charity to put a tent over their head. And I'm like, these are Americans. They speak only English. They play basketball. You know what I mean? This is it's an atrocity. I mean,
Houdini makes a very important point here, too. Some of these sub-Saharan countries have citizens who would rather go across Libya, which is all desert, and drown in the Mediterranean than stay in their home country. That tells you how bad things are.
And that story you told, John, is very, I had my own experience with that in Afghanistan one time. Leaving Afghanistan, I was at the Tajik border, and I saw a busload of people at the Tajik side they were illegal immigrants from Afghanistan, and they were about to be deported back to Afghanistan. And they had the saddest look on their faces. And it was like, imagine being so desperate for a better life that you were searching, you wanted to be in Tajikistan, which is the poorest of all of the former Soviet republics, the poorest Central Asian republic, where most people made like $15, $20 a month. That's crazy.
A month. Is Stephen Miller the mastermind behind this? I think yes. From all reporting that we've seen, this is Stephen Miller, to the point where his own family has disowned him. They've walked away from him. They're like, we don't know how this guy was created. He was born and raised in Santa Monica, for heaven's sake. He graduated from Santa Monica High School and then became this hate-filled anti-immigrant ideologue and attached himself to Donald Trump.
Psychologically, right, John, there's a sadistic aspect to this. This is about gleeful, I do understand a country that says we don't want illegal immigrants, especially those who commit crimes. But the gleeful sadism of it.
Yes.
How well does that, Democrats clearly don't care about these people, but are Republican voters actually happy about this? Do you think that they're like, or they just don't really think about it? You know?
That's great. I think they probably don't think about it. And I keep coming back to that hilarious news story about this woman in Indianapolis. I think we've talked about this. This woman and her husband in Indianapolis, they have a wildly successful steakhouse. And her husband came to the United States from Mexico 35 years ago, never legalized, but went into business, got married, paid his taxes, made tons of money, got scooped up by immigration and deported to Mexico. And the wife was on the news crying. She had voted for Donald Trump because, her words, he said he was going to expel the bad hombres. Well, I don't remember him saying the bad hombres. He may have, but I remember him saying he was going to scoop up the illegals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. This is the thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has done exactly what he told us he was going to do.
True.
Take the man at his word.
He keeps his promises.
Yes, he does.
I mean,
yes, he does.
I mean, honestly, if I'm a Republican MAGA voter who voted for him knowing everything that he promised, I don't have a lot of reason to be upset, except for the big beautiful bill.
Yes,
because he promised he was not going to raise the spending.
Yes,
increase our deficits. That's a lie.
Yes,
and he promised he wasn't going to touch entitlement programs. That's a lie too.
Yes, indeed.
So yeah, the sadism here is really disgusting. Let's talk about the ceasefire. So currently, I'm not sure if this. I assume this plan, latest proposal, originated with Trump. It seems to be a rehashed version of a deal that had been on the table earlier that Israel then broke after Hamas adhered to the agreement, and now basically Hamas basically just wants to go back to the status quo. I don't know what the Latin word would be for broken ceasefire that fell apart in March. And wants to basically say, okay, we want to go back to the lines there, and Israel's not going to. What was the other term that Israel didn't agree to? There was something else. It's driving me a little bit nuts. They basically want. Oh yeah, Israel wants to basically keep control, right, of all the territory they currently have. And Hamas is like, yeah, we're not going to do that, and they want the ceasefire to be permanent too, right? They don't want to just sort of have like a ad hoc ceasefire, release the remaining hostages, and then have the Israelis resume their bombardment.
And I read yesterday, I think it was in the New York Times, it may have been in the LA Times, that for the first time since they started taking polls, more Americans support the Palestinians than support the Israelis.
It's massive. I thought I'd never see that.
No, never. And that's the current situation. And it's because, people recognize a genocide when they see one.
It takes them a while.
Yeah, it does. It takes them a while.
I mean, you could see it on October 9th, really. But, yeah.
Yep, that's right.
So
that's exactly right.
I think, I got to say, John, I think the spell has finally broken.
I sure hope so.
I think with the Israelis and, and their supporters in the U.S. who bully everyone into like, oh, if you don't support us, you're an anti-Semite, yada, yada. Nobody believes that anymore. It's sort of...
No, somebody called me in a chat a couple of days ago, somebody called me a noted anti-Semite. And I was like, oh, okay. Noted by whom? What are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah. If supporting human rights makes me an anti-Semite, then, what am I going to do? I accept it.
Right. And it's just like, yeah, you just can't keep playing that game over and over and over. It's sick. I don't think Israel is going to come back from this. This is no country on the planet is more reliant on U.S. public support for its existence. And I just don't see it. I mean, even if like you snapped your fingers and they put in a liberal government to replace Netanyahu tomorrow, there's too much damage that's been done.
That's it. Too many dead, too much destruction. It's just not going to happen.
So the Israelis and Hamas are meeting in Qatar today, Are we going to see a breakthrough?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Israelis don't really want a ceasefire, right?
The Israelis like things just the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
The Israelis can do anything they want. And the only country in the world that matters, the United States, doesn't object.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think behind the scenes Donald Trump is frustrated with the Israelis?
I do. And I think that's why he dropped the F-bomb a week or two ago. Because I think he is frustrated with the Israelis. Mm-hmm. But he would never say that publicly. No American politician would say that publicly, for the most part. But no, I think he is frustrated, and I think the Israelis don't care if he's frustrated.
Yeah, and also most Americans now say they want to see a reduction in aid to Israel. I mean,
how great would that be?
Well, it's 50 years overdue, but like better late than never, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny too. Like one of my favorite tropes is, if you hold Israel to different and higher standards than you hold other countries, that's an official form of anti-Semitism as defined by a number of Jewish organizations. And I'm like, there's a reason that we hold Israel to a higher standard, or let's just say we pay more attention to their human rights violations than we do to, say, the Myanmar against the Rohingya, because there's no other country that we finance to this extent. It's literally our responsibility. It's our genocide. We pay for it. I mean, we're not paying for what Myanmar is up to. It's not cool what they're up to, but it's not ours. And this is our business, and that's different.
That's right. That's right. We've done this. We can stop it, but we won't.
No, that's correct. And I guess finally we have to look at the floods, right? You said at least 70 people have.
Yeah, Associated Press is now saying, let me find it, here it is, 70 people are dead and many others missing, including still 11 children from a summer camp after floods tore through central Texas Hill Country.
So
go ahead.
So this is an area that is prone to flooding and flash flooding in general. It's not like it's never happened before.
Correct.
And it's called flash. The Guadalupe River is considered. They call it a flash flood zone. It's happened historically before. This was a huge amount of rain in a very short time in one place. The storm wasn't particularly big, but it stalled in one place. It just dumped tons of water.
10 inches of rain
all at the same time, and then like whoosh.
Yeah, and it was 6 months worth of rain fell in 2 hours.
And that means obviously if it hasn't rained in a long time, the ground's hard, so it just runs off the top. So that's really terrifying. There's a little bit of a squabble within the meteorological community where some Republicans were blaming the National Weather Service for having failed to predict this, and they're saying to defend themselves, no, we predicted it. We told you this was going to happen. But the people that normally convey our forecasts to FEMA and other state agencies and so on, you fired them under DOGE.
Exactly.
And so
they were fired.
They're not here, and that would have helped.
Yes, that's absolutely true. They were fired under DOGE, and I'm going to go a little bit farther than that, or deeper, or further, whichever is good. I think it's further. Anyway, when you appropriate funds for the Pentagon that the Pentagon doesn't even ask for, you take away funds that could have been spent on public works, including flood control. Right? This happened in Utah 10 years ago. It happened in Iowa 12 or 13 years ago. When you would rather buy another B-2 bomber or 3 or 4 more F-35s instead of to create flood control mechanisms along these rivers that are going to flood, and then you're shocked that people die, then that's on you. That's on our leadership. And that's what we saw here. These people died unnecessarily.
Okay, so let me put on my harsh hat right now. So a local official, presumably conservative, but maybe not. Said that people there just don't want to pay higher taxes. That
Okay.
they could have local and state officials handle this, but they don't want to hire them. They don't want to pay for the resources, and therefore this is just going to keep happening.
That's an op-ed right there, Ted. I might write that today.
Is that fair? Is that victim blaming? Or I mean, to me, this is why. I mean, I do think even if that's true, this is the case for federal government.
Absolutely.
Sometimes local municipalities don't know what's good for them, and they need a little bit of the big great white father from Washington to weigh in and tell them what's what.
Yep, that's exactly right. And if Donald Trump gets his way, in a year or two, there won't be any such thing as FEMA. And then what?
Right.
Then what do you do?
I don't even understand that. I mean, literally, okay, so we can all criticize. I mean, that's, by the way, kind of a recurring theme with Republican budget cutting. It's not the first time we've ever heard it, but I think it's gone to a new level. So it's like, there's that old joke. The restaurant's terrible. Such small portions and such terrible food. And it's kind of like, well, if government is such small portions, it seems to me like the solution is bigger portions. But they're like, no, close the restaurant down entirely. Don't eat at all. And I'm like, I'm going to steal that answer.
I'm going to steal that for the op-ed I'm going to write this afternoon.
Steal it.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Look, you've identified the problem, okay? You've identified the solution to the problem. All that remains is the implementation of the solution. That's it.
Right.
Don't just pretend that the problem's never going to happen again.
No, I mean, yeah, no.
And all these children. I mean, Ted, there were reports. I saw a photograph yesterday at AP showing a little girl clinging to a tree 18 miles away from the camp. She was swept by this river 18 miles and was found clinging to a tree. She survived. These were little kids, like from 9 to 12, we're talking about. And they were just slaughtered.
Yeah, I mean, look, these things do happen. They do happen fast. But if you know the weather, I mean, that's why we have radar.
That's it. That's right.
I mean, and this is not new technology. I mean,
we all have it on our phones, for heaven's sake. You can watch the storm coming at you.
Right. Although, I don't know, you've probably seen it too. When I've been in places like Texas, man, when the storms come in, like it's nothing like it. I mean, we rarely have storms that intense in the Northeast.
Yeah,
there's not
rarely.
There's not that much energy in the atmosphere.
No.
The rain comes down like sheets. The massive lightning strikes.
And then it passes.
Yeah.
But down south, it's different. Like I said, 6 months worth of rain in 2 hours. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's a gorgeous icon. Wow.
Rebellious rainbow unicorn.
Good for
must
you.
have a good icon. Must.
Wow. Yeah.
Yellow banana says Texan here can confirm the storms here are next level. Yeah, no, I've always found it incredibly impressive and crazy. It's like, plus, what they say in the desert, right? Like, not that all of Texas is desert, but hardly. But, they say, how do you die in the desert, right? Thirst or drowning from like a flash flood that might not even be visible, right? You could be a clear blue sky, and over the horizon, there could be a thunderstorm that dumps a whole bunch of water, and suddenly you're in a wadi.
Rushes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I went to Petra, the ancient city of Petra in southern Jordan.
Wadi Rum.
Years and years. Yeah, that's right. Wadi Rum. It was before the peace treaty, so we were literally the only two people in the whole place. And as we were going in, a Jordanian guy told us to beware of flash floods. I said, it's a beautiful blue sky. He said, it doesn't matter. Watch out for flash floods.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always wondered, I think the theme here is, Trump is basically Reagan redux.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that, but that's where we are. Do you think the Democratic Party ascended under Bill Clinton as a response to Reaganism or as an evolution from Reagan?
Oh, no, that's a good question. I think it's an evolution. I think Reagan pushed us so far to the right that the whole country moved to the right. Remember, the Democrats were determined to never allow a George McGovern ever to win a presidential nomination ever again.
Right.
And so they stacked the deck with superdelegates.
Mhm.
And so I think the whole body politic of the country moved to the right. And here we are. There's nothing liberal about Hakeem Jeffries.
No.
He's no progressive,
No.
for example, right? I don't care what his race happens to be.
Yeah,
he's a Clinton Democrat.
Yeah.
And that's not a leftist. No
It
way.
does look like the Democrats we have now will continue to do the same thing. I mean, it's not like, I mean, when the Republicans come in, they strive to undo all of the works of the previous Democratic administration. Yes. But the Democrats don't do that. I mean, if and when President Newsom or whoever comes in, they're not going to unwind the big beautiful bill. They're not going to restore the cuts to the National Weather Service.
They're not going to cut the Pentagon budget.
Nope. Because then
nobody ever does.
They'd look weak on national security.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention, those are their contributors.
Exactly. Those are their contributors. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice country we have.
Yeah. Well, 4th of July weekend's over. We don't have to be told, but next year is the big 250. People forget that. I can't, the last one, the bicentennial was under the not so exciting administration of Gerald R. Ford.
Yeah.
And now Donald Trump. I mean, it is truly a cruel joke that he gets to be at the helm for the, what is it, the bisesquicentennial?
Bisesquicentennial, yes.
Well, that just rolls off the tongue.
Bisesquicentennial, yes.
It rolls off the tongue. It's already an ugly logo for it. At least the bicentennial had a nice logo, I thought. Very 70s, but well designed.
Yes,
this one's like,
indeed.
You look at this one, it looks like it came out of a clip art factory.
It probably did.
It's foul. All right, so are we sufficiently deprogrammed?
I think so. Good to talk to everybody. Thanks for all those outstanding comments. I get a lot out of that. Thank you.
Indeed. We always appreciate the comments and the questions. We have the best.
And the donations. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So we will be back Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, here on DeProgram with John Kiriakou and me, Ted Rall. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, follow, and subscribe to the show. Tell your friends. We just passed 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're very happy about that. And thank you to
thank you.
Buscaro 21. I'm sorry to mispronounce your name. Do you think Democrats keep track of all the damage Trump is doing, or do you think they keep playing identity politics? B.
Yes, B. Strongly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's their way. And thanks for the $5 donation. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. We're going to see you in a few days. Have a great remainder of your weekend. Thanks for sharing some part of it with us. Take care.
Bye, everybody.